All right, and 10 News political analyst Dr. Ed Lynch joins us now to talk about why today's elections are so important, not the least of which is the fact that not many states have elections today. So you're kind of looking at what is the mood of the nation, and Virginia is one of the places that we're looking. Big question, though, is the balance of power here in Virginia, right? The governor's got the Republicans have the governor's mansion, and he's trying to flip the Senate and keep the House.
That's exactly right, and both are very close. The Senate is very close, but with a Democratic majority. The House of Delegates, very close, but with a Republican majority. And Glenn Youngkin has been traveling the state, trying to get Republicans to vote early, and by the way, had some success. Their early voting is way up over last time, and flip that Senate and keep the House. That's the big race tonight.
So that'll be the big winner-loss for somebody tonight.
That's right.
Or tie. It could be a tie.
It could turn out that way again. Yeah. We could have split government with the House and Senate in different hands, and well, the governor will remain Glenn Youngkin for another 2 years, but we'll see how the delegate and House and Senate races go.
The other thing we'll see is this strategy with the governor trying to get the early vote out, because traditionally that means Democrats.
That's right.
And he's gone out and said, hey, Republicans, you can vote early as well. So he's been touring around the state trying to get that to happen. We'll see how successful he was with that. So everybody, as I said a moment ago, is watching Virginia because there aren't a lot of other races to watch. And they're trying to see if Virginia's a purple state, if we're a red state, if we're a blue state, because I think that a big Republican push here would kind of indicate the direction for the presidential election next year, yes?
Well, there are going to be a lot of people that are looking at a lot of signs. There's a governor's race in Kentucky that's going to be very important. Here in Virginia, the Democrats have made much more of an effort to nationalize these campaigns, mostly by talking about abortion, particularly in Northern Virginia. Every ad is about abortion. On the other hand, the Republicans really haven't, I think, in my opinion, taken full advantage of President Biden's lack of popularity. One of the big surprises for me is how little Biden or Trump have shown up in ads and in advertisements for any of the candidates, Republican or Democrat.
It's been a very, very issue-oriented race.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. With a lot of new faces, everybody's got a new district. There's going to be a lot of change in Richmond no matter what happens tonight.
Yeah. All right. So the question is if the Republicans turn out to have the big day, the day that the governor is hoping for, does that really help position him for the next big thing in his political career in terms of validating him as a big-time Republican, someone to contend with?
Absolutely, yes. Glenn Youngkin's victory 2 years ago, some people wrote that off as kind of a fluke. Terry McAuliffe shot himself in the foot with that comment about parents and schools. So can Glenn Youngkin keep that going? Was that just a one-shot deal 2 years ago? Or does his popularity, which is considerable, is that enough to carry in a Republican General Assembly and really allow him to hit the accelerator in his last 2 years? Big question mark for Glenn Youngkin. This is a big night for him one way or the other.
Okay, in 15 seconds, what do you think is the closest race we'll be watching tonight?
I think the local race is probably going to be House of Delegates District 41. That's Chris Obenshane and Laurie Franklin. Okay. She's poured a lot of money into that. She thinks she has a chance. We'll see how that goes.
Okay. Dr. Ed Lynch will be with us all night. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to let people know 10 News will continue to have live team coverage throughout the day and the evening. And when we're not on the air, you'll find updates online. We've got those at WSLS.com or by scanning the QR code on your screen. You can also get alerts sent straight to your phone with the 10 News app.